Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. So in this lecture, we'll be talking about current affairs. In the last lecture, we ended up on Democratic Republic of Congo, that is DRC, its tributaries and the basin area. We also saw the rivers of Africa in the map. All right. In this lecture, I hope you also remember that we have two series going on related to geography. One is the rivers of India and one is the mountains of India. We have already covered the Mahanadi as well as Himalaya. So in the next river, we'll cover Godavari. In the mountains, we'll come to the central Indian region or central Indian mountains. Now in this lecture, we'll start with the ASEAN. So ASEAN Special Envoy meets Myanmar Janta Chief. So we all know what's happening in Myanmar. There's political instability and Janta has overtook the democratic government. So now let's talk about the ASEAN. Alright, so let's see which countries are part of the ASEAN grouping or association of Southeast Asian nations. So this here we can see the boundary of India and Myanmar. So you must already remember what hills we read here. The Mishmi, Miri, Abor, Dafla, Patkaibam, alright, Namcha Barba, the Naga Hills, Lushali Hills, and the Berleng. Alright, so all these hills you must already remember. In Assam, we saw the Mikir Hills here, the Khasi, Garo, Jaintia Hills. Alright, so all these hills we already taught you in the eastern ranges. Now we come down to the first country of the ASEAN, that is Myanmar. We'll understand it here, just a second. Okay, so let's say this is Myanmar. So this is connected below to 4 countries. This is Vietnam, let's say. Alright, then there is this second country, its name is Laos. Alright, these both countries are connected to a third country, the name is Cambodia. And there is a fourth country, the bigger one, the name is Thailand. Alright. Okay, so this is Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. And the Myanmar further extends deep into this small line here. Alright, now we move further, we find a country, big country here named Malaysia, and on its smaller end there is an island named as the Singapore. And here the Malaysia. Malaysia has its capital Kuala Lumpur. Okay, there is an archipelago here known as the Philippines. Its capital is Manila. Okay, now we move forward, we see a crescent structure. So this is known as Indonesia. And the capital is Nusantara. Alright. And there is a small country here in this mainland Indonesia, very small, named Brunei. So all these countries make the ASEAN. So as you can naturally see, India is not a member. India is here, India is not a member. So we'll see why India is not a member as well. Okay, let's move further. So it was established on August 8, 1967 with the signing of the ASEAN Declaration in Bangkok. Bangkok is the capital of Thailand. Its headquarters is in Jakarta, Indonesia. Alright, but Jakarta, as you all know, is going down. It's going under the sea soon, and the capital has been shifted from here. The founding members were Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. So the lower countries were the founding members initially. The current members are 10. One is the Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So we already know how to map these. This is Myanmar, let's say. Then there is Cambodia, there is Vietnam, there is Thailand, there is Laos. Okay, and then there is Malaysia, there is Singapore, there is Indonesia, there is Brunei, and there is Philippines. Okay, so these are the member countries of ASEAN. The goals are to promote regional peace, stability, economic growth, social progress, and cultural exchange. The structure is various ministerial meetings, committees, and working groups. Key achievements, they are free trade agreements with various different countries, regional infrastructure projects, cooperation on security, environmental issues. Alright, so economic powerhouse, their combined GDP ranks 5th globally, making it a significant player in the world trade. And looking ahead, what's the way forward for it? Continues to strive for deeper integration and more resilient, vibrant Southeast Asia. So, India, what's the role of India in this? So, India is a strategic partner to the ASEAN since 2003. So, why is India not a member? So, initially, ASEAN focused on Southeast Asian solidarity during the Cold War. So, Cold War was between after the World War II and between the disintegration of the Soviet Russia in 1990s. Alright, so between this age, there was a long Cold War, especially in the 1960s. So while India maintained closer ties with the Soviet Union. Membership criteria, ASEAN operates on consensus and prioritizes cultural and linguistic similarities among member states. India's size and geographical separation presented initial challenges and complex regional dynamics. Alright, so that's also an issue. So that is why India is not a member to the ASEAN. Alright, so let's see another thing. Ram Temple opening brings fresh hope to Moradabad brass traders as orders for idols shoot up. So Moradabad, first of all, we'll see its location, where it's located. It's located near Ayodhya. Alright, this is Moradabad and here it's Ayodhya and little north to it. So we must remember the location first of all. Ayodhya is actually here, this here south to it. This is Ayodhya on the map. Alright, so this is Ayodhya and this is the Moradabad. So it's both in the same state and it's famous for its brass works. So we should remember such cities. They can come into any, let's say, regional exams. Okay, so Uttar Pradesh, Moradabad is famously known as the brass city. Alright, so this fact should be remembered. And artisans from Moradabad have filled people's homes with beautiful designed brassware and other decorative items. The industry, which till now produced utensil and home decorative items with integrate design, is now flooded with orders for idol of Ram, Sita, Lakshman and Hanuman because of the opening of the Ram temple in Ayodhya. Shoaib Shamsi. So here you can actually use this as an example of the social solidarity, or although here it's business oriented, but still you can use it as an example that Muslims are making idols for Hindu festivals or Hindu deities. Okay, so they have around 40 employees, mostly Muslims, who are working hard to fulfill the orders. So there was a time when the annual turnover of the brass industry in Moradabad stood at around 20,000 crore. Now it's just 1/4 of that because of many different factors, citing government policies, higher cost of raw material. The industry has also seen a rapid decline due to the demonetization as cash flows were hit and laying off of staff who were paid in cash, as the industry belongs to the unorganized sector. So here also a problem has come, which you can mention in your answers, that unorganized sectors and cash flow, they have been affected by demonetization, let's say. So how to how to take corrective actions, or what changes in the policies should be made for this sort of industries. The next news is that IIT Delhi team makes first high resolution landslide map for the India. Okay, so recently we saw many landslide in, let's say, Joshimath, in the Uttarakhand, in the Kashmir region. So anywhere where the load on the land is more than what it can bear, okay, there can be a landslide. So what are the prone reasons for such landslides? So let's see. So this whole northern region is prone to landslides because of 2-3 things. One is the natural structure of the soil here. This is the first and foremost thing. Second is the tectonic activity. This is an active tectonic plate region. And third is the urban load here. Urban load, the road of the tourist here. Alright. So this is again the northern Himalayas, let's say Sikkim. Here you can see the Kanchenjunga mountain ranges. Okay. This is again the Arunachal Pradesh region. Whole region is highly vulnerable to the, now let's say they have not shown Nepal here and Bhutan here, but this whole region actually is a continuation of the Great Himalayan ranges, which is a high risk area. This is the Churia ranges here in the Shivaliks. Alright, so even this, let's say this area, the northeast area, it's also highly vulnerable to the landslides. Okay, coming to the central Indian plate, there are no vulnerabilities as such, but there's a small area near the Eastern Ghat. Okay, this is found to be vulnerable. Okay, Okay, let's come to this type Western Ghat. So whole area from the Western Ghat is found to be vulnerable to landslides again because of the soil and the load on this land. All right, let's move forward. What are the news? So landslides are a unique and deadly problem in India. These statistics you can use in your answer. Unlike floods, they are less widespread and harder to track and study with satellites. Landslides happen in very localized areas and affect only about 1 to 2% of the country. As a result, there is much less data of sufficient quality for typical machine learning models to work with. So, this is the use of artificial intelligence in the disaster management. So, here you can use this. Alright, in late 2023, torrential rain during the northeast monsoon triggered heavy floods and landslides in multiple states in North India, killing hundreds of people. Given the number of fatalities due to landslides in India, a national landslide susceptibility map can help identify the most dangerous areas and help allocate resources for mitigation strategies better. India did not have a landslide susceptibility map at the scale of whole country then. So this is the name of the researcher basically, Manabendra Saharia, and he's an assistant professor in IIT Delhi wanted to make one. So he has made one along with his students. So after all the analysis and with the help of GSI extensive collection of landslide data, they developed a high resolution, let's say, susceptibility map. Here they could plot the susceptibility at a resolution of 100 meter. That is, they estimated the susceptibility for each 100 square meter parcel across the whole country. So this is a very high resolution area. All right, 100 square meter. We are talking about this. Okay, so this is very high resolution relative to the total area of the country. So this is a big leap, let's say. So this map, which they call the Indian landslide susceptibility map, is the first of its kind by virtue on being a national scale, leaving out no locations in the country untraced. So next we see the important space missions for 2024. So the first one is Europa's Clipper. It's a program by the NASA and it's towards the Jupiter's moon, the Europa. Jupiter's largest moon, the Europa. It's smaller than the Earth's moon with a surface made of ice and beneath his icy shell. So Europa likely harbors a saltwater ocean which scientists expect contains over twice as much water as all the oceans here on Earth combined. Alright, so if there's a saltwater ocean, we can also expect some life to be there. So Europa's Clipper will, let's say, investigate whether there is any alien life or extraterrestrial life there. The second one is the Artemis 2 launch. It's also by NASA, and it's about going back to the moon. Alright, so Apollo program was there towards the moon landing, and this is Artemis. In Greek mythology, Artemis was the twin sister of the Apollo. So it will send humans to the moon for the first time since 1972, including the first women and the first person of color. So it's basically a term for the black people. Okay, Artemis also include plans for a long-term, sustained presence in space that will prepare NASA for eventually sending people even farther to Mars. Third is the Viper to search for water on the moon. So Viper, which stands for the Volatile Investigating Polar Exploration Rover, is a robot the size of golf cart that NASA will use to explore the moon's south pole in late 2024. So these three programs are by NASA. First we saw the Europa Clipper, second is the Artemis, and third is the Viper. Alright, this is going to Jupiter, this is going to the moon, this is again going to the south pole of the moon where the Chandrayaan 3 went. So this robotic mission is designed to search for volatile, which are molecules that easily vaporize like water and CO2 at lunar temperatures. This material could provide a resource for future human exploration on the moon. The next one is Lunar Tailblazer and Prime 1 mission. So NASA has recently invested in a class of small, low-cost planetary missions called Simplex, which stands for Small Innovative Missions for Planetary Exploration. These missions save cost by tagging along on other launchers as what is called a rideshare or secondary payload. So one example is the Lunar Tailblazer, like Viper Lunar Tailblazer, which look for water on the moon. So it's basically a small pillion rider. Alright, that will just go with other missions and do its own work. So while Viper will land on the moon surface, studying a specific area near the South Pole in detail, Lunar Tailblazer will orbit the moon. It will not land on the moon. So just remember, it's a mission from NASA to study the moon. The Prime 1 mission scheduled for a mid-2024 launch is Lunar Tailblazer's ride. So this Prime 1 mission is going to again land on the moon, such as Viper will. Okay, but Tailblazer will actually orbit the moon, searching for the volatiles, because it's actually trying to see which molecules are coming out again with the Viper. Apologies, Trailblazer will actually measure the temperature of the surface and map out the locations of water molecules across the globe. So these are all connected to each other. All right, let's move from the NASA part, 4 missions by nation. Let's see the fifth one, JAXA. So JAXA is Japanese agency. So MMX mission concept to study Phobos and Deimos. They are Mars moon, or at the moon of Mars. So Europa is a moon to Jupiter. These Phobos and Deimos are moon to the Mars. So the mission's main science objective is to determine the origin of Mars moon. So where did they come from? And scientists are not sure where Phobos and Deimos are former asteroids that Mars captured into orbit, or if they formed out of debris that was already in orbit around Mars. The next one is ESA, that is European Space Agency's Hera mission. So Hera is a mission by the European Space Agency to return to the Didymos Dimorphos asteroid system that NASA's DART mission visited in 2022. But DART did not just visit these asteroids, it collided with one of them to test a planetary defense technique called the kinetic impact. So basically, if any meteor or asteroid is falling on Earth, then we can change its course and deviate it towards some other orbit. So this is a testing of this thing. So it's Hera mission. Alright, so Hera will launch in October 2024, making its way into late 2026 into Didymos and Dimorphos. So it will take it 2 years to reach there. Okay. Okay, now let's see another thing, which is strategy and foreign affairs for India in 2024, dealing with realities, looking for opportunities. So what's happening, basically, the Russia and Ukraine thing. All right, ongoing war in the Gaza Strip triggered by Hamas attack. So what's looking ahead? We see the China's belligerence. Belligerence mean enmity. Enmity with some sort of aggressiveness. Okay, has not abated. Abated means reduced, even as its economy has shown some sign of difficulty and worries the West and India. Okay, so let's see 2023 strategic reality. So one is the crisis in the Middle East. So 2 years of sustained effort to normalize ties between Arab and Israel was disrupted by the Hamas attack. So see, this is what happens when there is peace and stability into a region. Let's say Iran funded the Hamas and attacked on Israel. So there was no peace now. Because the economy has to run, the terrorism economy has to run. So with more than 1,200 civilians and military personnel were killed and more than 230 taken hostages. Israel's angry and disproportionate response has so far killed more than 20,000 Palestinians in Gaza, and it may actually not stop until Hamas is gone. Stress in India-US ties. So after successfully visit by PM Modi and President Joe Biden to each other's capital, bilateral ties are facing headwinds over allegations of Indian official linked to an assassination plot against a Khalistani separatist in the US, or like Niger killing, it's being called. The Russia-Ukraine war fatigue. As the war drags on, the West is facing funding challenges. Ukraine hopes to get 18.5 billion euro from the EU and more than $8 billion from US package that also contain white and military assistance. But the assistance has been blocked by Republicans in the US Congress and by Hungary in the EU so far. So it's Ukraine is not actually getting the assistance it needs, and Russia has so much of fund that it can actually get into the boundaries and take away the area. Okay, meanwhile, Putin's re-election as the Russian president is a foregone conclusion. The Russian economy has been resilient despite sanctions, and proximity between Moscow and Beijing worries the West. So this is a very strong tie between the China and Russia. They are very big countries, stable economies, great powers. Okay, so it's a worry for the West and India both. India's Maldives challenge. This is much in news now. So India out campaign and has asked India to withdraw military personnel stationed in the Maldives and conveyed its intention to terminate a water survey pact Mizu establishment considered close to China. So India can lose Maldives. They are also claiming to Lakshadweep now. All right. China, the biggest worry. So China continues to be India's biggest worry and strategic challenge. The Chinese military present as both the borders and standoff at Doklam, etc. So this dependence of Moscow, India's strategic defense partner, on Beijing for economic survival. So it's basically a triangle that's not going to work out in the long run. Let's say China, India and Russia. So they are both dependent on each other, helping each other. But there are conflicts between these. Alright, so it's not going to work out. There will sometime be again any standoff. G20 Global South positioning. A big takeaway for the G20 process was New Delhi's mobilization of developing and less developed countries under the umbrella of Global South. So next is towards engagement in Kabul. So again, Afghanistan embassy in New Delhi, there has been a change of guard in this. And the incumbent ambassador leaving, and that country's diplomats in Mumbai and Hyderabad stepping in to take charge. To India's relief, they have assured they won't fly the Taliban flag or have Taliban nomenclature in their official correspondence. So Taliban has taken over Afghanistan with the help of, let's say, very different countries such as Qatar and it has gained recognition in the Middle East especially, and aligning towards that side. So it can be a security issue for India, such as only the Pakistan buffer is in between. So India is engaging with the Taliban also. A technical team has been posted at the embassy in Kabul, and the present team in the Afghan embassy in New Delhi is coordinating with the regime for providing passport and visa services for Afghan nationals. China has posted a full-time envoy in Kabul. So, what are the challenges and opportunities in 2024 for India? So, one is the US and Canada relationship. So, this CUET summit may solve this assassination plot issue. You can read the rest of the notes when I post it on the channel. Second thing is new government in Pakistan. So, this is not very, let's say, formidable challenge for us. It's just politics. So, change in Jammu and Kashmir stance were again affected. Ties of Pakistan been at low. There's no business with Pakistan. All right, so elections are now due in Pakistan. There could be new government there after February. Once Lok Sabha polls are over, an opportunity to restart engagement could arise. Okay, the next one is outcome in Bangladesh. So 15 years of the Sheikh Hasina government, and New Delhi will be keen to see her return in power in the elections due early in the new year. So Sheikh Hasina has returned to power, and it's favorable for India. All right. Next one is countering deadlock with China. So border standoff ongoing since 2020. So it has been 3 years. There are very low chances that anything will clear out in 2023. But you can mention it in answers that continuing deadlock with China is a problem for India. Next thing, seeking a way forward in West Asia. So this is very important. So conflict has tested India's position over the last 2 months, seen it evolve during this period. From early support for Israel to nuancing its position and balancing with Palestine to calling for a ceasefire. In the last UN vote, India's diplomatic positioning has followed an arc closely watched by many in the Global South. The Global South did not take India's initial support for Israel kindly, and the defeat to Pakistan at the vote for the UNESCO vice chair was a reality check. Next is the future of the war in Ukraine. So this we cannot decide. However, you can read this and make your own notes. But what happens, only the future will tell. All right, the BRICS summit is important in this view. This is more important, the trade pacts, tech partnership with the West. All right, so free trade agreements with the UK, Australia, and European partners, as well as with the ASEAN. And the importance of BRICS in the future. So these will all decide what happens, what challenges are brought to India and what opportunities are brought. All right, so this is Yatharth here. This is all about today's lecture. Thank you very much for your presence. I'll see you in the next lecture with various geographical series. Thank you very much for your presence and have a good day. Keep studying.